Welcome to Auditor Training 2021 Opening Remarks and General Business Overview with Aaron Troschinetz. So for our agenda for this particular session, we will be going over the overall auditor training agenda for each of the tracks. We'll talk about 2021 Auditor Awards for 2020 year-end achievement. We have a business update to share with the team as well, which is choosing to thrive. We'll talk a little bit about remote audit, our observations to date, possible path forward. We'll next speak about maintaining client contact information, which continues to be critical to ensuring that we're keeping our information up to date. We'll talk a little bit about SQA auditor expectations. This is a similar discussion as to what we have every year. I think it's important to take an opportunity to kind of reinforce those expectations to make sure we're all aligned. And then we'll conclude with the back office and SQA auditor partnership, which is absolutely critical to our continued success. So the overall training agenda, again, we have the sector tracks for ISO, AS, and IETF. So starting on the left, ISO sector track will consist of two modules. The first module includes A&AB office audit follow-up, BOSS, and continuous improvement. The second module talks about the ICT policy, our outsourced process discussion, which has recently surfaced again as it pertains to IFMD 5. We'll talk about ECP review comments and finally OSC repeat issues. For the AS sector track, module 1 will consist of ICOP scheme updates, A&AB feedback, both office audit and witness audit, ECP findings, and finally internal audit findings. Second module is all about basically things to come, specifically with AS 9104-1, AS 9101, and AS 9104-3. And then finally, the IETF sector will be one comprehensive module, which will include risk-based audit duration, or RBAD, CARA, external internal NCR review, BOSS review with some particular IETF specific items, and just other updates in general. So for 2021 Auditor Awards, again, based on 2020 year-end achievement, again, we have the same awards we have every year. The Road Warriors, which are in excess of 200 billable days, and Customer Satisfaction, which is both in excess of 100 billable days and 3.9 or greater customer satisfaction. So starting with the Road Warriors, Jared Gravatt at 200.18 days, and John Cook at an astounding 310.4 days. Customer satisfaction, Stephanie Zoller, 144.76 days, perfect 4.0 customer satisfaction. Chris Shale, 167.09 days, again, perfect 4.0 customer satisfaction. Lisa Gallagher at 171.64 days, perfect 4.0 customer satisfaction. Bill Richards at 179.42 days, 3.97 customer satisfaction. Rick Zoller at 192.15 days, perfect 4.0 customer satisfaction. Jared Gravatt at 208.18 days, 3.91 customer satisfaction. And John Cook at 310.4 days, perfect 4.0 customer satisfaction. Once again, great job to everybody. And certainly we appreciate everyone's support and all of these outstanding achievements. So let's talk about business update. Again, kind of the title of the business update as we see it, choosing to thrive. So despite the many challenges of 2020, I want to take every opportunity to reiterate that we finished the year financially strong. Despite some of the challenges within the months of March through the June timeframe, where we were hardest hit with cancellations, postponements, in any of those given months, we had an average of 60% of the days realized versus planned. So, from a scheduling standpoint, that means 40% of the work that you thought was going to be there is moving around with a lot of volatility. So with all of that in mind, we certainly manage very close cost controls throughout the year. A lot of this consisted of heat map exercises, as what they were referred to, being performed on a weekly basis, just to make sure we understood as much as we could the revenue picture versus any spend and associated costs in the business. We've now moved those exercises to monthly. We have seen quite a bit being stabilized within the business, but we need to continue to run those exercises so we can stay as close as possible and hopefully exceed any necessary profit levels. Through this experience with COVID to date, I think it's worth mentioning there are countless signs that our team collectively became stronger at dealing with adversity of any kind, as well as we have a business overall, which is a testament to everyone that is resilient enough to not have to take some of the actions that we witnessed our competitors taking in 2020. And to some extent, they're still taking in 2021. These were things like pay cuts, employee separations, transformational organizational changes, and so on. Fortunately, we were well positioned. Collectively, I think as a team, worked very hard together to not get ourselves into any of those situations. And I thank everyone for all their hard work and all the challenges in 2020. I think that as we come out of this whole experience, we're certainly a stronger team for it. So as we continue to hopefully return to normal, so to speak, it is imperative that we all exercise all of the necessary health safety protocols to execute our work and support a safe environment for both our team members and clients. So as mentioned in 2020, we also made a conscious decision not only to survive, but take actions to encourage the business to thrive, moving through the remainder of 2020 and now into 2021. So the first one that comes to mind is certainly BOSS. So BOSS continues to drive our business daily, serve as the centerpiece for allowing us to have visibility into risk areas that demand attention. We're able to see things more quickly, more accurately through this system, and the team is doing a tremendous job acclimating to the system, as well as we're challenging ourselves as far as what the workflow improvements are that can not only go through BOSS, but also all the processes that get affected outside of BOSS. Client portal is now approaching 50% complete with clients set up in the system. This is going to allow us to complete the final piece of one shared operating platform, which is basically SQA Auditor, client and back office. This is imperative to our future with bringing more efficiencies and a more overall flexible client solution as far as doing business with SQA. This is something clients should expect as part of their service. And yet we see many of our competitors that can't offer anything remote to what BOSS and Client Portal have to offer. So we need to keep leveraging those systems and certainly the use of it amongst our team. Operations Support Coordinator tools through the OSC Levels training program continue to be our vehicle of driving OSC competencies and understanding of the overall business. We're also making major commitments to the future as far as allowance of scale of the business as we add additional technical bench strength with fully staffing each of the sectors with a sector manager position, as well as the director of operations role. And again, this is critical to our continued growth, is that we need to ensure that we have the bench strength across the team to continue to scale and pursue some of those opportunities. And finally, increased tools and spend is being executed and planned in the areas of marketing. And this is all centered around SQA brand recognition. We want to get out to a larger client audience than we have in the past, as well as support our ongoing efforts in growing accounts as a larger percentage of our overall business. So remote audit, obviously the major question, what is the future with remote audit at SQA? So as part of a recent Voice of Customer survey, and this was an activity that we did as an input to the remote audit 1 year later virtual quality conference presentation that we just did, we actually did a Survey Monkey. We put together the questions for this Survey Monkey. We also floated it out to a larger CB audience through the IAAR. We were able to get 800 survey respondents as part of this activity. And really the survey was all designed around what is the client's perception as far as the effectiveness of remote audit. So some statistics to share. The first one there, 75% of respondents reported no difference in audit objective achievement given any kind of technology issues incurred. 90% of respondents reported the auditor arrived at the audit with all the necessary competencies to support remote audit and any of the technology platform requirements. 70% of respondents reported no difference with non-audit duration, that type of activity during remote audit versus on-site audit. 80% of respondents reported no difference in the auditor's ability to identify concerns, non-conformances. And finally, nearly 80% of respondents reported no difference to significant gain in the overall effectiveness with remote audit versus on-site audit. So these statistics were a little surprising. We certainly know that clients enjoy the benefit of no travel with remote audit, but certainly there was a voice that came through this survey that supports that clients would like to see remote audit in some capacity moving forward. So granted, the statistics I just shared with you are from a client perspective. There are a couple of SQA considerations that I would be remiss if I didn't mention to bounce those statistics against. So first off, we do believe that there has been non-conformance activity that's taken a dip with remote audits. One external statistic that was shared with us through the aerospace sector is that somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% less non-conformances are getting written on remote versus on-site audits. So while the client perceives maybe there's no difference, I don't know if that's telling the whole story, and certainly data would support it isn't as far as the drop-off in non-conformance activity. We've also observed some cases, frankly, of lack of auditor competency or execution with remote audit tools. This is both a technology platform as well as adapting audit approaches with conducting audits remotely. And finally, this was kind of interesting. When we first kicked off with remote audit, we went to large measures to put into the tool the auditor's consideration of additional time, given any complexities, taking on a remote audit. We have seen basically no add-on time with remote audit, which is kind of perplexing because, again, there are cases certainly that would support that the remote audit is going to require some increase of time due to some of the considerations. However, we haven't seen them. All that being said, though, the genie has been let out of the bottle, so to speak, and some form of remote audit is here to stay. We're allowed by AB oversight requirements, obviously. So it's worth mentioning SQA has been and will continue to be part of any of the remote audit discussions wherever possible. We are leading activities at the IAAR, the IAQG, AAQG, IEF, as well as IEOB, IETF, to bring a CB perspective to the discussion with remote audits. At this time with remote audits, the following policy still applies. So basically for IETF and AS audits, effective August 1st, ICT will only be permitted due to a client-reported COVID-19 case or set of cases within the last 30 days. So we're trying to hold this line because we know in the case of aerospace and IETF, we are already seeing signs and being told that remote audit, many of the considerations and allowances will start to get pulled back towards the end of this year and certainly going into 2022. For any ISO-based audits effective August 1st, ICT will continue to be subject to SQA management approval. We will consider obviously COVID-19 related circumstances. That's always at the top of the list. But hopefully as things continue to get better, and that is not the primary reason for requesting remote audit, we will also consider risk factors with allowing the audit to move forward with remote. And those are being discussed now, as well as we continue to ask ourselves how we can put some risk criteria to remote audits moving forward, because it is a piece that's missing right now with remote audits. Is I think there needs to be more consideration of what is the risk of doing this activity remotely versus on site. So let's talk a little bit about maintaining client contact information. So as always, SQA auditors will remain the face of the SQA business to our clients. If I think about it just from a common sense standpoint, SQA auditors see our client at least once a year. We are lucky to see a handful of our clients once a year. So that's always important to keep in mind. As an SQA auditor, you maintain a relationship with the client which the back office cannot surpass. And oftentimes, if changes occur with a given client, you're the first to know. And I think it's important that we continue to ensure that when we get those changes, the office is immediately alerted so that we can obviously update our systems appropriately. Now, having said that, a year ago when I was reporting any kind of bounce back activities, so that would be where a client contact changed, we didn't get alerted, maybe we weren't even made aware, and we are sending things to an old email and things are bouncing back. So a year ago, we were running at about a bounce back rate of 13% on various client communications. We are now seeing rates regularly around 5%. This is a tremendous improvement, and I think it's a testament to everyone. Great job to those in particular in supporting the cleanup of the client information within BOSS and Client Portal. We want to continue to build on this. So certainly as changes happen with our clients, SQA auditors relaying that information to the back office just helps ensure that we're all on the same page as who the accurate client contacts are. The other piece of this is that we have to continue to drive this point of contact information as being a central thing that we do in the operating of our business, because as we move further along with BOSS and specifically Client Portal, clients are going to be receiving information through our systems. So we want to keep up the good work that we have in place and continue to drive that activity of ensuring any updates are made accordingly. SQA auditor expectations. So we have this discussion every year. I think it's important to continue to challenge ourselves in this area. So expectations start with communication and accountability. So communicating with our clients, our back office team members, as well as accountability, holding ourselves accountable to ensuring that tasks are completed the right way as well as on time. Also underneath this, I think there's some important focuses that we need to keep in mind. Meeting client requirements. So this is all about timely communication, audit preparation activities, and prompt car closure. Those are things the clients expect, they require, and it's important we continue to keep that as a focus. The next item, meeting internal technical requirements. This is all about technically sound audit packages, completion of correct audit duration, considering any things like complexity, timely submission with accurate expense reports and receipts, and support with schedule head requests. Very important as we continue to challenge ourselves to push schedules out in terms of confirmations and ensuring that we have things in schedule, that's an effort that requires both the back office and the auditor working closely together to making sure that those things happen. And finally, calling nonconformances like you see it, which is no soft grading. It should not be any surprise that as I look across all the sectors that we're involved with, nonconformance is a major source of concern, especially with the remote audit activity that we've done over the last year or so. So we need to continue to challenge ourselves. If nonconformances are there, they need to be written, and we need to be calling the shots like we see them. Finally, general conduct. This is all about professional conduct at all times, never lying or cheating, never doing anything to place the client's certification or frankly our accreditation at risk. Asking questions, never being afraid to call the office if something demands some additional inputs so that we can make sure that we're making the right calls when we're on site. So a little bit about the other piece of this, taking it a step further, which is the back office and SQA auditor partnership. And as many of you know, I look at all of our relationships as partnerships because I think there's always going to be a little give and take. And I think it's important that we work together as a team to ensure that that partnership is working. So this is all about working together and that communication, accountability, extending to the larger back office as well. If we expect you guys to hold yourself accountable, we need to hold ourselves accountable. If we make a mistake, we need to work together to fix it and take actions to ensure it doesn't happen again. The other piece of this that I think is where we excel and frankly can continue to be successful is delivering client service excellence. And that's all about exceeding our overall client expectations and frankly delivering on our client commitments. Next item, setting the industry standard with our technical capabilities. This is all about continuing to exceed our competition with our overall technical acumen and capabilities to find the right technical solutions for our clients. When we look at it on a day in, day out basis, I don't think there's any question that we go to great lengths to bring our technical acumen, our technical capabilities, and truly differentiate ourselves from our competition. And that's something as we continue to grow and I believe be successful with what we offer our clients needs to be front and focus as far as something we focus on getting better and continuing to challenge ourselves with every day. So that is the conclusion of the general business overview. I did want to take an opportunity to thank the team again for a truly successful 2020, despite all the challenges, and looking forward to the successes of 2021. Thanks, everybody.